Hey Scott, how are you?
Great, Robin. How are you? Good to see you again.
Nice seeing you too. How's everything over there in California?
We're good. Things are good, progressing along. The school year's picking back up. We actually had the good fortune to welcome back more students, so we're starting to progress in the right direction, I think, and it feels more like a school campus. And I know more and more schools are, heading that way, so it feels good.
That's awesome to hear. So I'm excited about our guest tonight and talking about esports. And so to kind of kick off that conversation, I thought I'd give you a little quick question.
You
So
bet.
what's your favorite or your most memorable video game growing
Oh, how long would we have on the show tonight? If I had to pick anything like of all time, I think I got to go with Legend of Zelda. I was a big I just love the fantasy world and like level by level. I think if I had to go to, it'd be that one. Probably as a college student, it was more the sports games, but I think I would have to go Legend of Zelda. How about you? Were you a big video game person?
Not huge, but when I was a kid, I played a lot of games. Probably I played some Zelda, but I would say probably my favorite was Mario Brothers for sure.
Can't can't go wrong with that. And Mario Kart, that's a great group game right there. I mean, we could go on and on, right?
Yes. That and original Atari games too. I always have a special place in my heart for those and retro
Absolutely.
arcades. But anyway, we don't enough about our little video game play. We have some super awesome guests here tonight to talk about esports and education and what we're seeing out there across the U.S. and with regards to esports and the rise of its up and coming and people are making careers out of this. So it's just a really hot topic right now. So I'll let you go ahead and introduce our special guest tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We'll bring Mark and Steve on here and introduce them both to our audience. So thanks for being here, guys. Mark is the director of the esports program at UC Irvine here in Southern California, right up the road from my school. He's also a commissioner with NASTF, the North America Scholastic Esports Federation. UCI is one of the top programs in the country. They've been featured on ESPN. And Mark is also, a little plug, a proud graduate of Apple Valley High School, where I started my teaching career. So glad to connect with Mark here.
That's right. That's my most proud accomplishment right there. And I'm also a proud father, as you can probably tell right now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And we're also happy to welcome Steve Isaacs. Steve is a new education program manager at Epic Games now, just a couple months in or a couple weeks in, right, Steve?
Just over a month, yeah.
A pioneer in the area of game-based learning and the co-author of the new book, the Esports Education Playbook. So Mark and Steve, welcome to the show, and thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Well,
thanks for having us. I'm having an emergency in the back, so why don't you give Steve the first question here? I'll be right back.
Yeah, so Steve, why don't you just kind of share with the audience a little bit about your role at Epic Games, what you're doing, and then also just what you're seeing and just general observations about esports.
Sure. So at Epic, my title is Education Program Manager. The awesome part about my job is that a lot of it's about connecting with educators, outreach, creating opportunities for students and teachers to use and work with interactive 3D. Right now, the interactive 3D industry is just blowing up in terms of opportunities for kids. So, a lot of people are familiar with Fortnite, which is an Epic product, but Unreal Engine, which is one of the premier game design engines, is also being used in, just about every industry you could think of. So one of the things that we're really working on is supporting career readiness in students. And like, for example, we just launched a program called Unreal Futures. And our first in that series is called Careers in Advertising, where we take a good look at the advertising industry and kids learn a little bit of Unreal Engine to recreate an Oreo cookie ad and, all sorts of really neat programming like that. So super exciting. And I think the other question you asked was about what I'm seeing in esports. Was that what you said? What it was?
General observations around the country.
Well, I guess the coolest thing, because I've been involved. So before I came to Epic, I mean, I had been teaching. I taught for 28 years and just retired. Prior to that, I was very active in esports in our school. I started our middle school like casual and then competitive gaming programs, as well as at our high school. And what the coolest thing I've seen over the years is that it went from maybe educators and students kind of, wanting these programs to administrators starting to look around and say, wait, we need this in our schools, and starting to see the incredible value of the scholastic side of esports, which I know Mark could talk about for days. So, I think that's been one of that's what I'm seeing, which it's really great when you stop being on the fighting side and start being on the supporting people who want it side.
It's a whole different conversation, right? I love that. That's that switch to more acceptance and whatnot. So Mark, kind of along that line, in terms of what you're seeing, like for those of us who maybe are not familiar, maybe we have some viewers who are still really new to esports at the collegiate level, at K-12 level, how is esports, more than just playing video games? I think some folks look at it and go, oh, you're just, in front of a screen all day. What have you seen and the impact that it's had at UCI and other places?
Yeah, well, like you were just saying, like there's a huge shift that happens when you support student interest and student passion. There's a lot of research that shows that you can use student interest to really do really powerful things, teach life lessons, connect to education. And so that's what we're seeing at the college and scholastic level, K through 12, is people finding a way to engage with young people. Video games are maybe the most important form of entertainment these days. And so finding a way to support people's interest in that, but also engaging with them. So it's providing coaching and mentorship, creating a culture and a welcoming environment that allows everyone in, supports their passions, and creates a space that's welcoming, allows people to thrive.
So you mentioned, that's an open environment and anybody is welcome. What do the typical, esports players look like? I mean, I know in general, there's, depending on the video game, there are some games that seem to be very male dominating, but in the esports space, I'm starting to see a lot more females entering in this arena as well. So can you talk a little bit about, what is the esports leagues doing to make sure that, they're being inclusive of all folks?
Great question. I think diversity is the most urgent need at the collegiate level. It's totally absent at the professional level, but I think we have higher standards in education. So our players have predominantly been very male dominated. We do have our first female on our starting Overwatch roster right now. But if you look across professional esports, top collegiate, or even high school programs, it's almost all men. And I think that's partially due to early life socialization and what's accepted for boys and girls. But it's also really heavily dictated by kind of just oppressive online forces that force out people who don't feel or look like the normal stereotypical gamer. And so I mentioned culture earlier. So we have a code of conduct. We talk about inclusive excellence with our program. We teach bystander training. We teach our students to engage with problematic behavior when they see it, not just stand by and tolerate really hostile, toxic comments. And I don't think it's a gaming or esports problem, to be honest with you. I think it's an online and technology and human problem. I think we have to engage with it, but I think it's unfair to say it's a video game thing or an esports thing. But in our spaces, it's something that we have to tackle, and we're working on it. And if you have the answers, I'm looking to help be a part of the solution here.
If I could add a little, because I like what you're talking about with the culture, and we talk a lot about navigating digital culture. And I think one of the things we're doing really well in scholastic esports is that we're supporting kids in that environment. So where, I always feel like we've made big mistakes in certain ways in education where we shy away from certain difficult topics, and unfortunately then, are at the mercy of sending kids home to maybe unsupervised environments where they're, exposed to this. So with esports, and Mark was talking about code of conduct, one of the things that we can do is in that setting and in a scholastic league and in all of these places, we can, ensure that students are behaving appropriately, and also that we're teaching them to do so. And one of my, thoughts is, if we continue to teach that in school, we'll hopefully create better digital, citizens and have kids then not be perpetuating those issues. And that's an uphill battle, because I think the stage was set before we kind of, got there to do this. But and I think another thing about the inclusivity is that one of the things we're embracing in Scholastic Esports is the overall like esports ecosystem. So, you were asking, Robin, what does the typical player look like? It's not even so important what the player looks like, because there's much more behind esports than the typical just, player, right? So, I'm sure like at UCI, Mark probably has like a whole group that works on shoutcasting and all sorts of other aspects of the esports industry that go far beyond playing. So, Mark had mentioned, a welcoming place for everybody. The idea is if you have an interest, hopefully there's a fit. I wasn't, a great athlete, but maybe if I wanted to be involved in sports, there would have been a way to be in the environment. Like you have friends that work for the NFL because they're so passionate about sports. It doesn't mean they're an athlete themselves. So those are the kinds of things I think we're trying to really leverage as also.
Yeah, if I get just a couple more thoughts. One is, Steve mentioned like there are a lot of other roles in our program. Our full-time staff is over 50% women. Our internship class of 10 students is more than 50% women. So there's lots of women in and around our program. The goal is to make them have access to every area they want to touch. And then the other thing I'll just mention is without esports program, without engaging with them, these students are still online. They're still playing video games, and they're just not being mentored, and they're not being coached. And so, yes, it's an uphill battle, but if we're not doing it, the internet is teaching young people how to behave, and that's a terrifying concept.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's definitely my stance, and the fact that we need to be there with the kids.
So what would you just recommend in general, like if for a parent maybe who doesn't, didn't grow up with esports, didn't have these experiences, they don't know what all this is, what it's about, and their child may say, hey, I want to sign up for this esports activity at my school. What are some conversations that you would share with parents to, let them know what this is all about, how their student is getting involved here, whether that be an actual player themselves or one of these other supporting roles in the environment? But what are some basic things that parents should be aware of?
One hugely important thing is that, a lot of the kids that are interested in esports might not have, other connections with school. We've often seen that, right? So right out of the gate, that gives them this place that they belong in an affinity space with other like-minded kids interested in the same thing. So to me, that's hugely valuable, even if it doesn't speak directly to the pure academic, benefits they're going to get. In our game club, I love to talk about the kids where I've had a parent reach out to me and ask me specifically who their child might be hanging out with in game club, because they might not socialize outside of school and they're trying to build those connections, and they know that the child is having a great time in game club every week. Like, can I build these bridges outside of school? And I've found in my environment that it's been a place where everybody, pretty much belonged. Not to say we never had any, issues, but you would have them, anywhere. But here it was like, I've seen kids with special needs, flourish and so forth. And then there is all of the teamwork and the collaboration, and in competitive gaming, when you start hearing kids who are trained well with coaching start to communicate effectively, those are tremendous skills.
Yeah, I would just say, listen to your child. Like if they're passionate about something, I hear so many times that esports is the first thing that their kid has really demonstrated excitement for. And so if they're not in the traditional athletics world or involved in another club, this is a really cool opportunity for them to be involved. There are scholarships. There's a lot of careers and jobs that are beginning to grow. But from just a due diligence perspective, I would ask about what games you play, understand where they're communicating, how they're communicating, what platforms and websites they're visiting. A lot of parents want to be in control, at least, or understand where relationships are being formed and be able to monitor those. And I think that is a smart parenting thing, to understand what Discord is and understand what Twitch is and understand that people are in chat and talking. And if you get a feel for it, you participate a little bit, watch it a little bit, it'll make you feel more comfortable, but two, if there's something problematic in there, you'll know where to look, and you'll know where communication's happening, and where perhaps, nefarious behavior could happen or something like that. So encourage them, listen to them, but also pay attention to what they're doing and where they're doing it.
So there's another area of support that I'm curious to pick your brain about, and that's in terms of the school administration. And we all know in any organization, you've got to have that top-down leadership, right? You've got to have the support of your people at the top to really encourage everybody in the organization to thrive. So talk about the importance of getting the administration in on supporting esports, whether it's a club or a class or a competitive team, whatever it may be. How important is that connection between the teacher or the coach or the leader of that esports group with the administration of the school?
I mean, it's tremendously important. I mentioned earlier, and I think it's just really neat to see that now is the first time I've started having, the administrators I've been around the space for a while, so people reach out to me with questions, probably Mark as well. And it was often the teachers saying, how do I get started? How do I get started? How do I get started? And then it shifted to the administrators saying, or the superintendents, how do we get started? Last year, Chris Aviles and I spoke at the New Jersey Superintendents Conference, as a key part of that conference. And again, it was that idea that like, hey, these people want to hear what's going on and how to get started. So it is very important. I think, I'm grateful that there is a shift there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's one thing for there to be a passionate teacher or staff person who could do a little bit, but esports cannot thrive without buy-in from senior leaderships, because there will be critique, there will be challenges, there will be roadblocks and red tape. And if you can't say, I have an executive sponsor or someone at my university or school that has my back, it makes it really, really hard. So I would say esports are not thriving anywhere without senior leadership support.
Yeah. And I think we still need to get to this point where, I mean, we're getting to a point where there's more support. Now I think we need even further like financial support and things, because we're still not quite seeing esports programs viewed on that same level as like the varsity sports program. The football program, I believe in most schools, is still better funded than the esports program, and esports is still being looked at as like this, as more of a club and such. So that part I think we need to get to as well, because I think, obviously I think that it should be seen the same. And now that you're seeing so many scholarships and things, it's, the value proposition is there. And as we start, seeing, or as people start seeing the potential for spectatorship in esports as well, I think that starts to tell a good story.
So, yeah, I think I'm hearing esports booster clubs. Is that what I'm hearing?
Right.
For sure.
Hey, Kathy. I see Kathy.
Yeah.
You got the support of your wife here. That's so
Hey.
Daughter too. Well, I wanted to ask us if there's anything else that you guys want to share about esports, or any encouragements that you have for those out here watching it or just trying to discover and learn what this is that we didn't already ask you guys, but anything you want to share just in general.
I mean, I just think there's, there's the find the champion in the school, let the kids drive the interest. When kids start asking for a program, like, I think it's our responsibility to support them in that way. So, I think those are kind of important things, and to realize the expansiveness of the esports ecosystem, and definitely understand that there's so much more to it than kids just competing, at the games, although that part should be honored and valued, of course.
Yeah, and I'll just say, like, I think young people universally understand how important video games are, and they've probably all heard of esports. But for people in older generations, it's definitely something to pay attention to. And once you've kind of seen or dealt with or touched esports a little bit, you'll start seeing it and feeling it and understanding it a lot better. So I guess I would just encourage everyone to keep an open mind about it. It is growing. It is certainly a way I think our humans are going to compete long into the future. How big it gets, who knows? But right now, there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of interest, and a lot of excitement.
Love it. Super exciting. I agree with you, Mark. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this progresses into the future and where it goes. I think at this point, the sky's the limit.
All right. So are you guys, before we wrap up, are you ready to play a little bit of lightning round for a little bit of fun?
I think so.
All right. So I'll ask the first few questions, and then Scott will wrap us up, and I guess we'll just kind of go back and forth. So we'll start, because Steve, you're on my left. We'll start with you. How about the first question? What's your favorite food?
Pizza, without a doubt.
And Mark?
Grilled chicken thighs.
Very, very specific. Okay.
Very specific. I like it.
All right. Next question. What's your favorite holiday?
Ooh. I think I'll go with Thanksgiving, Robin.
I also go with Thanksgiving. Just love getting together with the family, and it's a nice beginning to kick off the holiday season.
Then you have to trade it out for some turkey thighs, though, I think. All right. Next question. What's your favorite sound?
Oh, boy.
It's not my alarm clock, that's for sure.
I think for me, it might be the sound that villagers make in Minecraft.
Ooh.
And if I was,
I like that.
under the right circumstances, I would maybe make that sound, but I'll pass for now.
You know what? I will say, I'm going to get sentimental. I'll say the sound of my son laughing. My child's laughter is the greatest sound.
Good.
Awesome.
All right, you got me there.
All right. So I think you might have already said yours, Mark, but what's your least favorite sound?
Least favorite? Well, definitely like the old school alarm clocks. Now they have like nice warm sounds that warm you up, but that annoying that was the worst sound ever invented. So I wish I would go back and uninvent that.
I think I'm going to go with whining.
I like it.
Yep. All right, over to you, Scott.
So what job outside of your current position would you most like to attempt? Something outside of technology and esports. What job would you most like to attempt?
I fantasize about being a...
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mark.
Sorry, my internet's sucking again. I'd say landscape design. I would love to like design people's yards, and I have a green thumb, so I'd love to work with gardens and things like that.
Nice.
I think I'd like to be like a snorkel instructor or guide or something like that, or scuba. But yeah.
I like that. Exotic location like Fiji or Bora Bora or something fun like that, right? I like that. So the flip side of that.
You see all the same spots if you're a dive master in the same place too long. So you have to, rotate it like every year. Place.
Yeah.
What job would you definitely not want to attempt ever?
Oh, bus driver.
Maybe middle school teacher. I think.
Yeah, me too.
I think that's
tough. Being a middle school teacher.
I was a middle school.
I think it does. People say it takes there's definitely a personality. I think it takes. I wouldn't say a special person. People like to say that, but it's definitely a thing.
Superheroes only allowed in middle school.
All right, we'll wrap it up with this. When your career is over, at your retirement luncheon or party, what do you hope your coworkers and friends are saying about you?
Whew.
That I made a difference.
I like that. I think my internet's making this hard for me to answer. I would say hopefully I was fun to work with, and that made the world a better place. Left the world a better place.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, I think you're a better place and are making a huge difference. And we appreciate your insight, expertise tonight on this call. Hopefully you've gotten someone out there excited about esports opportunities for their children that they may be seeking, where they maybe don't feel accepted or belonging to other organizations in school. So thank you guys so much for being here tonight and sharing your expertise with us.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank
Thanks
you.
so much, you guys. Have a great night. We appreciate you.
Bye.
Hi, guys.
Bye.
Just a wealth of knowledge. It's so exciting to see where esports is going. I wish I could rewind 20, 30 years and have it when I was a kid. It's just great to see.
Yeah, there's just, I just feel like there's so many opportunities now and so many different things. And, I like how the topic of digital, becoming a digital citizen through gaming and esports too, and how it's being addressed, and really, having that coach and that model at, in a school or a campus environment, to teach those things while the kids are playing. Because like I said, I didn't even think about it, but yeah, when you just put a kid in front of a gaming system at home, you leave them to their own wills. Most parents aren't over there telling them all of the do's and don'ts and what they can do, because most of us parents don't know. So it's really interesting.
Well, and the other piece of social responsibility that I think Mark mentioned, right, that people blame video games for this, fighting and bullying and that kind of thing, when really that's prevalent everywhere. We see it on Twitter and social media and everywhere. So really understanding that it's not a video game problem, it's more a societal problem that we can help address through things that you're talking about, coaching and mentoring and all those kinds of things. It's all closely connected.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever actually been to an esports competition, Scott?
I've been to a small one, a local one here, but never a big one. I need to bug Mark and get up the road and go to one of the UCI ones when they welcome fans back. Have you been to one?
No, but I've seen them on TV, when they're broadcasting. I think they're just, it's amazing. And then you have fans of the players, and look, thinking about Twitch and all these. I know, right? You all these things, and you're like, people love watching other people play video games. Who I would have never thought that was a thing back in, But it's just, it's, I don't know, mind blowing to me.
It is. It's awesome.
All right.
Well, let's get to our segment this week. We kind of want to piggyback on the conversation, and I just thought I would share a couple of resources. As we mentioned, Steve and a couple of his friends wrote a great book. And for those of our viewers who are maybe wanting to get into the esports thing, I just wanted to share a couple of tips that I pulled from the book that I thought were really valuable. There were many. It was hard to pick just 5 or 6, but I was really taken by how well they addressed, and we said it tonight in the conversation too, all of these different skills that come, it's more than just hand-eye coordination, right? It really is teamwork and communication, and even the digital marketing piece and the business side of it. And there's just really so many skills to be taught. So, encouraging people to think about that as they're building a program, and use that to pitch to parents and teachers and admin about the benefits of building these programs. The next piece, we talked about this a lot, gender equity. I know both Steve and Mark mentioned that the competitive side of it is still pretty heavy. This is a stat from a couple of years ago, actually, in a study, but there are many women playing games online. They may have not, navigated over into the competitive world yet, but they're out there. I know our high school team here is about 40% female, which is great. Obviously, we'd love to see that grow even greater. So understanding that it's not just a men's sport, not just a male-dominated sport, that it's open to anybody, and really creating those equitable opportunities for all genders, all races too, all shapes and sizes. This one we touched about. Robin, you were asking about the parent part and the admin as well. The partnerships that you build with teachers, with IT staff, with the community, even local schools. I know we reached out to UCI as we were building our program. So even other schools and universities and companies that are doing this. We're fortunate to have Blizzard, a big video game company in our area. So really building those partnerships and bringing those vendors and key stakeholders into the conversation can be really helpful to creating a real support network for your program. This one I thought was really interesting. I've heard about it a little bit in terms of programs around the country, but reading about it in the book, it really jumped out at me, the importance of game choice. And I think Mark mentioned it, really listening to your students, right? Talking to your the members of your club or your team and understanding what their interests are, what their strengths are. You don't want to focus on League of Legends if you have a bunch of sports players, right? I mean, you really want to be able to understand, what the right game for your school and your program is to choose. And there are many, many options out there. And I know sometimes it depends on league or school or level or where you're starting, but definitely do your research and look into all the different games out there before you just jump into making a quick decision. And the last piece, I thought this was great, is just thinking about the different levels of an esports program that you build. You can go with a really high competitive team. You can make it kind of a more casual club, as Steve said when he started out, kind of a more of an activities after school co-curricular club. And there's even some classroom components too, where you're actually teaching some curriculum and integrating it into the classroom. So again, encourage folks to do their research and look into the different aspects of how you can roll one of these programs out. So if any of this is interesting and you want to search more, obviously happy to plug Steve's book. It's a really fantastic read, really laid out nicely, lots of like pull out tips and everything. I thought it was a really quick read and easy to understand. So I definitely recommend checking that out as your go-to resource to begin with.
Absolutely.
Robin, over to you for this week's Epic Educators. Three great folks to celebrate this week.
One of our ways we love to end our show is recognizing educators who are doing really epic and awesome things. So we're here to recognize these educators this week. The first one we're going to recognize is Mr. Andrew Fitzgerald, who is an educator in Southern California. If you follow Andrew out on social media, he is super passionate and a huge advocate of Power Platform. He has taught so many other educators how to use Power Platform to really simplify tasks and automate tasks for learning. So once again, shout out to Andrew. He's shared here how he's using Power Apps along with Flipgrid and OneNote and Forums to all collect student data and seeing how his students are actually performing. It's just such amazing work coming from Andrew. And I really just love the fact that he's always willing to share it with others. Anybody who says, "Hey, Andrew, how'd you do that?" He will sit down and be like, this is how it happened. So thank you, Andrew, for your amazing advocacy for Power Platform, how it's used in the classroom, and sharing that with others.
He's a mad scientist too. He loves to tinker and play. He's a fantastic conversation to have for sure.
Our next Epic Educator goes to Amanda Mathias, who is also from California. And in our line with esports this week, we wanted to recognize Amanda because she's sharing how the new esports worlds in Minecraft are impacting her students and helping them thrive during the remote learning opportunities, which is super amazing. So thank you, Amanda, for once again sharing how Minecraft continues to be a great tool for collaboration for your learners in the classroom. And our next one, our last but not least, Epic Educator this week goes out to the amazing school leader, Rob Dixon. Rob is now in Kansas, and he is always leading the way with many things, but he's at one of our incubator schools on the way to becoming showcase school and really just getting secondary principles, learning, exploring, and playing with Minecraft Education Edition as well. Just as we said in our segment on esports tonight, getting everyone involved from your administration team to your teacher team to your parents all the way down to your students is super important. So the fact that he's setting aside time to really work with his secondary principals in his school district on the power of gaming and using Minecraft in the classroom to create, problem solvers and thinkers in the classroom. We just wanted to give him a special shout out because it's not an easy task, but we definitely appreciate him leading the way here and standing out as an amazing showcase school leader for us. So shout out, Rob.
Love it. And thanks to all the Epic educators and educators around the country sharing. Keep sharing on social media. We love to feature you guys and show off all the great stories of all the amazing work being done.
Absolutely. So I'm so excited that, Scott, our probably my most favorite event that we do every single year is our global education exchange event. It's called E2. We are going to be hosting that this year virtually, obviously, due to the current state of the world. But this is a global event. We are inviting educators from every corner of the planet to attend E2 with us this year. This is typically an invite-only event, and we bring a select number of educators from around the world. I kind of think of this as like the Olympics of teaching that usually comes together for E2. But because it's virtual this year and digital, we're able to invite everybody. So everybody has the opportunity to kind of see what E2 is about, learn from peers doing really amazing and great things across the planet. But E2 is taking place. We encourage you to sign up and register. It is absolutely free. You can do that at aka.ms/E2, like you see down here below. So if you haven't already signed up for E2, please do so. I encourage you to do it, participate as little as much as you want. We'll be playing and replaying the event multiple times throughout the day because we're obviously airing it for the world. So we want to make sure that no matter what time zone you live in or across the planet, you have an opportunity to tune in.
And as always, you can catch all of the past broadcasts and a replay of tonight's show on our YouTube channel. Feel free to check that out. All of our shows right there, aka.ms/US Microsoft EDU Live. Tonight's episode will be up first thing in the morning. And again, you can catch all of our episodes on the YouTube channel.
And I want to end by just saying we're one day late, but happy one day later, International Women's Day, to all you ladies out there tuning in and joining with us. Thank you for Absolutely. All you do to make a difference each and every day.
No doubt. We all have very important, significant, influential women in our life, and definitely a good time to celebrate that for sure.
All right, Scott. Well, I guess I'll see you back online in just a couple more weeks for our next show.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it, and looking forward to E2 and interacting with educators from all across the globe. It's going to be a great time.
All right. Night, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.